Ever since I uploaded my last Don't Hug Me I'm Scared theory, I've had a lot of people ask if I can make a follow-up. And to be honest, I wasn't entirely sure how exactly I could do a follow-up. But with the help of the comments section and a little bit more research, I started to think over some things that could possibly change the outcome of my main theory. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I've got my main theory, I'll answer a couple of your recurring questions that are in the comments section, and I'll finally answer the big question that I could never answer in my last video. Who exactly is Roy? Let me just get these two quick things out of the way that people have addressed in the comments section that are actually incorrect. First one, the characters do have names though. Harry, Robin and Manny. Actually, those are the names made up by the fans, not the creators. If the creators were to actually give the characters names, then the yellow guy would not be called Manny, as, like his father, he has a letter on his chest. But his letter is the letter D, whereas his father has an R on his chest. Which we obviously assume stands for Roy, as there's been a lot of evidence that points to this. So, I guess if Manny was to ever be given a name, it would begin with the letter D, not M. So far we've never been given confirmed names of the three main characters, although the closest we got was to the red guy who was about to say his name before the computer cut him off.
Well, my name is Great News!
Second one, 19th of June 1955 was the Argentina bombing. Actually, that took place on the 16th of June, not the 19th. Now onto the actual theory! So I want to first address the date, 19th of June 1955. This date is shown in the Kickstarter video and the second episode. I didn't realise it was in the second episode, so thanks to everyone who pointed this out, well spotted. But I also found it was on the number chart too. A lot of people have asked, why did I choose 1955 when it only shows 55? This only means it's the 55th year, so it could be any of the centuries. Very true, but I think there are lots of clues that point towards this being the year 1955, and none of the other centuries. And I think the biggest clues are shown in the Kickstarter video, which is supposedly set in this 55th year. First, look at the camera. It's not a widescreen, like the footage we get today in movies or any types of film. It's almost like it was in the year 1955. The only difference is, it's not in black and white. But the only reason I can assume they chose not to go black and white was because it would be too distracting to get the message across. This was their Kickstarter video after all. Now look at the guy who's kidnapped them. Isn't that a Jewish hat he's wearing? Also, it looks like he has a SWAT sticker on his arm. Obviously isn't, but I'm sure it's supposed to be interpreted as one. Now what event could have possibly gone on in history that involved a Jewish hat and a SWAT sticker together? World War II. Nazis had been taking Jews to concentration camps and had them gassed and killed. I think these were clues added to the character to give us a hint which century this took place in. World War II was in the 20th century. So with that evidence added together, I think this was, in fact, 1955. Let's look at another year people have been saying has been appearing in Don't Hug Me I'm Scared. That year is 1906. A lot of people have pointed out that there is a wanted poster with the year 1906 on it, and then there are tombstones with the same year on it. However, the wanted poster doesn't have a year on it. It has a price. £1,906, which is the currency we use in England, and Don't Hug Me I'm Scared is an English YouTube channel, so it makes sense why they would use it. Also, these numbers have occurred way more times than just a year. These numbers are no other than the date 19th of June, 19th day of the 6th month. It's just swapped around because that's how we display it over here in the UK. These numbers have appeared in phone numbers, prices, years, and times, and many other things. I don't think there is a story for the year 1906, as there isn't enough evidence other than the one time it's been displayed as a year. 1906 is just the 19th of June. As for the poster a few of you have asked about again, I think they've only placed that there so they could put the numbers 1906. They do this all the time. There's numbers on the fridge that says Roy's number, but that number doesn't even exist. There's only one reason they put that there. Well, okay, two reasons. One, to show Roy's name again, and two, to once again sneakily hide in that 1906 in the phone number itself. And before you start commenting, but that number does work, it actually doesn't. It never did. However, the number on the phone box at the end of the video actually did work for the first 7 days after the upload of the 5th episode. But if you try it now, it tells you it's no longer available, so you can no longer get through to it. But for the people who did manage to get through, seem to get a disturbing recorded message of the actual characters themselves.
Hello?
Or were they recorded? Some who got through have actually claimed that the characters interacted with them.
What?
But before you could ask them anything yourself, the characters would hang up. So there wasn't really anything new we could discover from these phone calls, but I thought it might as well be something to be addressed. And speaking of these hidden clues, something else people were asking me about was, did I notice the red guy's head in the microwave? And what does this mean? I did see it, but I didn't really see any significance to it, so I just left it out. But after giving it some thought, I realized that in fact this is a reference to the ending of the 4th episode. At the end of the 4th episode, the red guy's head exploded. And a lot of people have heard if you were to actually put a human head in a microwave, it would explode. So this is a reference to the red guy's head exploding in the 4th episode. And before you start correcting me that this would never happen if you were to put a human head in the microwave, I know it's not entirely true, but the majority of people have heard this myth, which is why I think they did this. Now that we got the majority of things people were asking about, I did say I'd been doing some thinking of my own theory and feel it needs some changes. So let's go through it. I said that the whole thing was a metaphor, which I still believe is true. These puppets do in fact represent age groups, but it's not just kids. They represent the age groups that are the most vulnerable. The yellow guy represents the children, easily distracted by the things going on and seems to be easily entertained by all the things around him. The red guy represents the teenagers. He's sarcastic, negative, and always talking back to the teachers, and seems to get moody very easily. And finally, the green guy, that I thought represents the age groups going into puberty, actually represents the elderly. When you do get to a certain age, your voice does start to go a bit croaky, kind of like the green guy. Look at what he's wearing too. A tweed jacket with a handkerchief in the top pocket? Not only that, in the 2nd episode he is shown in a rocking chair, and then in the very next shot of him he has a pocket watch. How many kids own this stuff? These 3 age groups are the most vulnerable age groups, and these are the perfect targets for the media, brainwashing them into thinking a certain way. And TV in 1955 was the start of it all. 1955 was the start of technology taking over our lives, and the media feeding us all this information through them. And after finally giving it some thought, I've finally come to the conclusion on the one question I couldn't wrap my head around. Roy. Roy is the media. The companies, the producers, he represents them all. Watching over these characters, making sure they stay in line and stay blinded by what's going on around them. Even look at the brands on the food. Roy's Flakes, sneakily advertising his products like companies do in TV shows. His name always appearing in the credits as if he was part of the production. If this is true though, and Roy represents the media, why does the yellow guy see him as a father? Well, someone actually pointed out in the comments that TV or other types of media in general does tend to take a more parenting role these days for children. So it doesn't surprise me that the yellow guy would be looking up at him as more of a father figure than anything else. So now what's happening to the red guy in episode 4? Well, I still think he's growing up. He's gone from teenager to adult. This is why he's in the real world and wearing the suit at the end of the 5th episode. He's no longer targeted by the media anymore, as he realizes what it's been doing to him. He's still around, which is why you can see him on certain occasions. But he's no longer in the system. It's why you can see him outside the window and not inside on the pictures on the fridge. As for the bird guy in episode 5, as much as I didn't agree with this the first time of hearing it, I think he dies. There are lots of things that point to this. First of all, the fact that his age group represents the elderly. The picture on the fridge with his eyes crossed and then once again in the animation. Not only that, he's on a hospital bed for the whole second half of the episode. I think he does finally figure it out about the media and stuff, but shortly after he does, he passes away. They all seem to be going their separate ways. Except for the yellow guy. He's still here on his own. Constantly being told what to do by these so-called teachers, left to fend for himself until the final episode. It's a little bit more complicated than the last one, but I hope you understood. I'm not saying this is correct, I'm just going by the evidence I found and put them together with my thoughts. So I'll stick with it myself, whether or not you guys agree is up to you.